Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're exhausted and you try to go to bed on time, but toss and turn for hours before you fall asleep. Or maybe you fall asleep okay, but you're wide awake at 4:30 when you wanted to sleep till 7. Or maybe you have one of the hallmark symptoms of menopause. You wake up in the middle of the night, pajamas soaked from night sweats. Or maybe your clients complain about this. Considering that over half of menopausal women say they have trouble sleeping, I'm guessing one or more of these situations sounds frustratingly familiar. Not being able to sleep when you're exhausted is more than frustrating. Everything feels harder when you don't get enough sleep. And I don't know about you, but when I don't sleep well, I am tired, I am irritable, I can't focus as well, and I am starving all day. It's no wonder that some experts think that poor sleep is actually the core challenge of menopause and is what contributes to most other menopause symptoms, like the weight gain you learned about yesterday. That's why today, on day 3 of your free course, you're going to learn 5 reasons women have trouble falling and staying asleep during menopause. Plus, you'll get 4 powerful nutrition strategies to help your clients get a better night's rest. And this is a huge chance to win as a coach, because if you can help your client improve her sleep, you might also help her have fewer migraines, have less brain fog and fatigue, improve her mood and outlook, and find her happy weight. In other words, the weight that helps her feel comfortable in her body, have fewer aches and pains, and mitigate disease risk while enjoying her life. Talk about making a difference. So let's get into it. Among other functions, both estrogen and progesterone play a role in regulating sleep. As levels fall during perimenopause, your client may find her sleep gets worse. On top of that, she may also struggle with sleep for one or more of the following reasons. Number 1, hot flushes and night sweats. Ever felt like your whole upper body just got stuck in one of those hairdresser hair dryers? And maybe you're sweating, anxious and faint, and your heart is pounding, and on top of that, you have chills. Wait, what? Welcome to hot flushes. Now imagine this nighttime experience. You suddenly feel hot and sweaty, so you kick off the duvet. Then the sweat turns from a tropical warmth to an Arctic cold, and the shivers rattle your teeth. You pull the covers back on, only to feel the furnace kick back on, and the cycle continues. Not great for restful sleep, right? Heads up, I'll talk more specifically about the physiology of hot flushes and how nutrition can help tomorrow on day 4, so stay tuned. Or number 2, you or your client may struggle with sleep because of the urge to urinate. As levels of estrogen drop during menopause, bladder capacity seems to shrink and tissues around it may feel more irritable. And changes in progesterone can cause more urination thanks to its interactions with our fluid retention systems. As a result, your client may find that she has to get up once or twice or more at night to empty her bladder. An extra note about this, many women don't drink enough water throughout the day because they're trying to avoid this, but staying hydrated is so dang important. Dehydration can exacerbate many menopause symptoms like digestive issues, body temperature regulation, headaches, tiredness, and poor concentration. But on the other hand, drinking enough water can help alleviate these, plus do a bunch of other good stuff like lubricating joints, plumping skin, and regulating cravings. Number 3, you or your client might struggle with bloating and acid reflux. Many women notice digestive changes during midlife, including abdominal pain and discomfort, heartburn, intestinal gas, bloating, and disrupted bowel function like diarrhea or constipation, all of which can impact sleep. Fun, right? Number 4 reason, sleep apnea. As estrogen and progesterone levels decrease, women are more likely to snore and develop obstructive sleep apnea. This is when breathing repeatedly stops during sleep, and it can make it incredibly hard to feel rested. By the way, if women are really noticing any of these 4 issues, they should consider consulting with their healthcare provider. They're all uncomfortable, but they can also signal more serious underlying health concerns. Number 5, cravings. As you learned on day 2, many women have more hunger and cravings during the menopause transition. But while eating more fast-digesting sweets and other highly processed foods may feel great in the moment, your client might crawl into bed with elevated blood glucose. As her body processes what she ate, glucose levels fall, which can disturb her sleep. So to recap, falling estrogen and progesterone levels can lead to increased hot flushes, nighttime urination, GI symptoms, snoring, and cravings, all of which can understandably disturb sleep. Additionally, other factors can impact how much sleep she gets, like your client's history of sleep issues, what stage of menopause she's in, as it's more common for women to struggle to stay asleep as the menopause transition progresses, and whether she's entered menopause due to the surgical removal of her ovaries, which is associated with more severe sleep disturbances. And we can't forget that lifestyle, genetics, chronic pain, and overall health can also have an influence on sleep. You may not be able to help your client get a gloriously uninterrupted 9 hours of rest, though there's always a possibility. But you can help her experiment with sleep-promoting nutrition. Nutrition strategy number 1, avoid alcohol before bed. Many people think alcohol helps them sleep, probably because it makes them, feel sleepy. Unfortunately, alcohol actually tends to make sleep worse. While you might conk out soon after an evening glass of wine, you might wake up a few hours later because the alcohol has suppressed REM, or your dreaming sleep. Alcohol intake may also affect the vasomotor regulation that leads to hot flushes, which, as you already know, can be super disruptive, especially if you or your client needs to get up and change out of sweaty clothes. So by avoiding alcohol in the 3 to 4 hours before bed, your client is more likely to sleep more restfully and wake up feeling more refreshed. And as a bonus, exploring having less alcohol may also ease some other menopause symptoms. Plus, it may help reduce her risk of health problems associated with alcohol, such as heart disease, cancer, and low bone density. Though that advice sounds straightforward, you'll likely find that some women, or maybe you yourself, are pretty attached to their wine, beer, and margaritas. They might enjoy the flavor or the social aspect of drinking, or it might help them unwind. Encourage your client to tune in to how she feels when she drinks and how she sleeps afterward. Think of it like an experiment to gather data, not to pass judgment. When she can explore exactly how something like wine before bed impacts her sleep, she can make an informed decision about what to do going forward. She might decide that alcohol's worth it, even if an experiment reveals that it's creating problems, and that's okay. The point isn't to force your client to do what you think is best. Instead, it's to help her make empowered decisions. Okay, nutrition strategy number 2, skip caffeine in the afternoon. Caffeine is a stimulant most often found in beverages like coffee, tea, energy drinks, and soft drinks. And I've got to admit, I myself am a sucker for delicious beverages. The GGS team makes fun of me because I always have at least 4 beverages with me in meetings, and one of them is always coffee. But I'm also very sensitive to caffeine, especially later in the day. So I'll drink a cup or 2 of half calf in the morning, and then if I drink any coffee in the afternoon, it is always decaf. Otherwise, I'll have a rough night that night. Okay, enough about me. Whether caffeine keeps you or your client up may depend in part on how you metabolize it. The average half-life for caffeine, in other words, how long it takes half the caffeine to clear from the body, is about 5 hours for most adults, though it can be up to 12 hours or more in some people, probably me. That said, even a client who's a fast metabolizer may not sleep well after consuming caffeine too late in the day. Evening caffeine intake will likely disrupt her sleep quality even if she's unaware of it. By skipping the afternoon and evening caffeine, your client will improve her sleep quality and wake feeling more rested. It may also help reduce any caffeine-induced hot flushes, headaches, pelvic pain, and breast tenderness, which will make both her nights and days feel better. As with alcohol, cutting caffeine can be a tricky thing. Approach it like you would cutting back on alcohol, by considering some experimentation and empowering your client to make her own decision as to what she wants to do to get the result she's after. This doesn't have to be an all or nothing decision either. Your client could slowly cut back, or she could switch to the caffeine-free versions of her favorite coffee, tea, or soda. Nutrition strategy number 3, experiment with meal timing. Our body prefers a predictable eating schedule. In fact, it actually secretes digestive hormones and enzymes before regular mealtimes just to get prepared. By eating meals on a regular and predictable schedule, your client will be more likely to finish digesting before she goes to sleep. And on top of this, some folks may find that they sleep better when they consume their evening meal several hours before bedtime. This can cut down on digestive issues like indigestion, as well as nighttime awakenings due to blood sugar fluctuations. Ideally, your client will finish eating at least 3 hours before bedtime. So if she goes to bed at 10, that means she'd want to finish her dinner by 7. Keep in mind, however, that this eating schedule won't work for everyone. Someone who works until 7 p.m. every evening probably can't prepare and eat dinner until closer to 8 or 9. In that case, the next nutritional strategy may work better. Nutrition strategy number 4, experiment with meal size. Do you see this theme of experimentation coming up again and again? This is part of the nutrition coaching game. We're always seeking ways to test what works for our unique clients and ourselves. In this case, we're experimenting with a smaller evening meal. Smaller meals can increase the likelihood that your client's body will finish processing what she's eaten before bedtime. This could potentially help her fall asleep more quickly, reduce the number of times she wakes due to blood sugar fluctuations, minimize uncomfortable acid reflux and bloating. And if she's used to dinner being the biggest meal of the day, she might want to plan ahead for this experiment by eating a larger lunch or adding an afternoon snack. She probably doesn't want to go to bed actively hungry, which might cause its own set of disruptions. And with that, you just learned 4 powerful nutrition strategies for your client to get a better night's sleep. Awesome job. Understandably, not all of these strategies will apply to every client, so start with a strategy that checks the following 2 boxes. Number one, it's likely to offer a measurable impact on her sleep. So if your client rarely drinks alcohol, she's not going to benefit much from cutting back. But if she drinks a cappuccino every night after dinner, cutting back on caffeine might be an excellent place to start. And number two, your client is willing to try it and see what happens. Nutrition should never be something you or your clients are white-knuckling your way through. It should fit into your life in a sustainable, realistic way and support your overall health and menopause experience. You should be able to customize it, keeping what works and ditching what doesn't.